It's a quiet morning in an Australian suburb. The streets are still, the neighborhood asleep. In a few seconds, the silence will shatter. Armed officers storm through family homes, flashlights cutting through the darkness, illuminating the startled faces of criminals violently ripped from their sleep. Scenes like these unfold across the globe as a coordinated strike against organized crime begins. From Asia to Europe and finally to the Americas, police in 16 countries raid drug labs, secret warehouses, and private residences. Nearly 9,000 officers make over 800 arrests, seizing nearly 40 tons of drugs, countless weapons, and millions in cash and cryptocurrency. This is the culmination of Operation Trojan Shield, the largest sting operation ever orchestrated by the FBI and Europol. And at the heart of it all is a single phone. This story is partially based on the book Dark Wire by Joseph Cox, an investigative journalist who delved deep into the criminal underworld. Due to the nature of some anonymous sources, not all information can be independently verified. We highly recommend checking out the book for a deeper dive. The Rise of Encrypted Phones. I have a cargo ship with a captain on standby. They want to throw over the load as they leave. When can we start? I have the cash ready. Is tomorrow too late to pick up? It's already here. This is a real conversation between two drug traffickers, sent via an encrypted phone. Encrypted phones are specialized devices, often lacking cameras or GPS, designed for maximum privacy. Politicians, military personnel, corporations, and, of course, criminals use them to avoid being tracked. The market for these devices is massive, with companies like SkyECC, Encrypted, and Phantom Secure dominating the space. Phantom Secure, for example, charged up to $22,000 for a 6-month subscription, a steep price for absolute privacy. These phones come with a critical feature, a kill switch. If a phone is compromised, a remote wipe command can erase all data, rendering it useless to law enforcement. This feature has made encrypted phones a nightmare for authorities. Even if police seize a device, all evidence can vanish in an instant. Over the years, law enforcement has aggressively targeted encrypted phone companies. Phantom Secure and SkyECC were shut down, leaving a vacuum in the market. And where there's a vacuum, there's opportunity. Enter AFU, a dodgy businessman with a plan. The Birth of Anom. It's 2018 and AFU, an expert in encrypted phones, sees an opening. Previously, he sold Phantom Secure devices to criminals, including Hakan Ike, Australia's infamous Facebook gangster, known for flaunting his criminal lifestyle online. With the collapse of major encrypted phone companies, AFU hatches a plan to launch the next big thing, Anom. Anom devices are modified Google Pixel phones running a custom operating system called Arcane OS. At first glance, they look like ordinary smartphones complete with apps like Tinder, Netflix, and Spotify. But these apps are dummies, they don't work. The real functionality lies in a hidden messaging app, accessible only by entering a special code into the calculator app. Anom also features pin scrambling, which randomizes the keypad numbers to prevent shoulder surfing. Anom quickly becomes a thriving tech startup for organized crime, with AFU as its CEO. But his true plan goes far beyond building a business. The sting operation. This story isn't just about a brilliant sting operation, it's also about privacy. Think about all the data you shared online. That sketchy online store you ordered from a decade ago, the forms you filled out for things you no longer care about. Data brokers collect this information and sell it to the highest bidder, often ending up in the hands of cybercriminals. This is where services like Incogni come in, forcing data brokers to delete your sensitive information. But back to AFU. In 2018, he approaches the FBI with an offer. He'll build the next generation of encrypted phones, but with a twist, a hidden backdoor for law enforcement. The FBI, recognizing the potential, agrees to collaborate. However, spying on phones within the US is illegal, so the FBI enlists the help of the Australian Federal Police, AFP. Together, they implement a backdoor that silently copies and redirects messages to authorities, all without the user's knowledge. The trap is set. By 2019, Anom has hundreds of users, and demand is skyrocketing. Drug traffickers, Italian mobsters, and biker gangs are all using Anom to conduct business. Meanwhile, the AFP monitors every message, gaining unprecedented insights into criminal operations. But the FBI still can't access the data directly due to legal restrictions. To bypass this, they partner with Lithuania to host the servers, allowing the operation to proceed. In Sweden, a drug trafficker nicknamed Microsoft, real name Maximilian Rivkin, is scrambling after the collapse of Encrochat. He turns to Anom, convinced it's the future of encrypted communication. Microsoft becomes a key distributor, even sending photos of his Swedish ID card over Anom to reassure his contacts. Little does he know law enforcement is watching every move. At one point, Microsoft plans to murder a former cafe owner in Stockholm over a $800,000 debt. He hires a hitman who suggests posing as a delivery driver to carry out the hit. The Swedish police, monitoring the messages, intervene just in time to prevent the assassination. Anom is never mentioned, but the operation continues. The fall of Anom. By 2021, Anom has spread at a phenomenal rate with around 12,000 users and millions of messages sent in 45 different languages. The sheer volume of data is overwhelming. FBI agents sift through countless messages, uncovering drug deals, murder-for-hire schemes, money laundering operations, and even the occasional unsolicited pickup line. When lives are at risk, police are forced to intervene, but Anom can never be named as the source. Doing so would expose the entire operation. The secrecy is paramount, but with every new user, the problem multiplies. Eventually, the flood of intelligence becomes too much to process. At the same time, Lithuania's court order, allowing the FBI to operate the Anom servers, is coming to an end. Without Lithuania, the FBI can no longer spy on users. After 4 years, Operation Trojan Shield must come to a close. But when it does, it sends shockwaves through global organized crime. Anom users around the world wake up to a nightmare. Heavily armed law enforcement officers storm their homes, fully aware of their illegal dealings. Later that day, the FBI publicly reveals the secret behind Anom. They had developed and operated their own encrypted device company. Law enforcement agencies worldwide celebrate their unprecedented victory. Operation Trojan Shield is hailed as a watershed moment, resulting in hundreds of arrests, the dismantling of major criminal networks, and the seizure of enormous quantities of drugs, weapons, and illicit funds. The evidence seized is staggering. It feels like the ultimate triumph against organized crime, the largest sting operation in FBI history, perhaps in all of history. But as the dust settles, a harsh reality begins to emerge. This mission, hailed as a success, could potentially turn into a massive failure. Legal challenges and uncertainties. To date, over 27 million Anom messages have been collected, leading to over 800 arrests. But experts are growing increasingly skeptical about whether Anom's chats will be admissible in court. The evidence may have been obtained through potentially illegal means. A German court has already set a precedent, ruling that Anom chats cannot be used as evidence because they couldn't be physically linked to the suspects. In Australia, legal uncertainty has delayed a major trial, with courts grappling over whether the data collected through Anom's backdoor can be used to convict suspects. If courts worldwide continue to reject Anom chat evidence, hundreds of cases could be jeopardized. Criminals caught red-handed through these communications might walk free despite their obvious involvement in serious crimes. While some courts have declared Anom messages lawfully obtained, trials will likely drag on for years as they move through higher instances. It's unclear how many Anom users will ultimately be convicted. The human cost. While official press releases praise the number of murders supposedly prevented, there's a troubling silence regarding those that were not. According to Joseph Cox, at least one assassination of a Swedish man was meticulously planned in Anom chats and executed while authorities observed in real time. As these cases become mired in legal limbo, an uncomfortable question arises. Was Operation Trojan Shield worth it? If key evidence is dismissed and trials are delayed or overturned, the operation's long-term impact may be far smaller than law enforcement had hoped. The privacy dilemma. Beyond the legal challenges, there's another dilemma, one that affects us all. It's about privacy. Today, almost every popular messenger is end-to-end encrypted. Preserving privacy is essential. It's a basic right. Encryption technology isn't just for criminals. Journalists, human rights activists, and dissidents from authoritarian regimes rely on encrypted messaging to protect their lives and work. Privacy concerns all of us. Data abuse can affect anyone. You might instinctively respond, "I have nothing to hide." But what if you lived in a totalitarian state rather than a liberal democracy? Would that stance still hold? The debate over privacy versus security is far from over, and Operation Trojan Shield has only added fuel to the fire. It's a quiet morning in an Australian suburb. The streets are still, the neighborhood asleep. In a few seconds, the silence will shatter. Armed officers storm through family homes, flashlights cutting through the darkness, illuminating the startled faces of criminals violently ripped from their sleep. Scenes like these unfold across the globe as a coordinated strike against organized crime begins. From Asia to Europe and finally to the Americas, police in 16 countries raid drug labs, secret warehouses, and private residences. Nearly 9,000 officers make over 800 arrests, seizing nearly 40 tons of drugs, countless weapons, and millions in cash and cryptocurrency. This is the culmination of Operation Trojan Shield, the largest sting operation ever orchestrated by the FBI and Europol. And at the heart of it all is a single phone.